Hi, I'm Devin Stewart from the Carnegie Council. For nearly 100 years, the Council has been the voice for ethics in international affairs. This month, we ask you to please give to our annual fund drive to support videos like this and other programs at the Council. Thank you for your support.
Laissez-faire outsourcing takes place when government outsources oversight as well as implementation. And the most glaring example of laissez-faire outsourcing is the Coast Guard's Deep Water program. Anybody familiar with the Deep Water program? It was launched in 2002 and was a 25-year plan, the most comprehensive in the Coast Guard's history, to modernize and update the Coast Guard's fleets of boats and aircraft. And the Coast Guard did something unprecedented with this project. They delegated overall management of the project to a contractor. So Integrated Coast Guard Systems, a joint venture of Lockheed Martin and Northrop Grumman, was assigned the task of choosing who should perform the work, as well as the task of evaluating itself. Well, not surprisingly, Integrated Coast Guard Systems chose, guess who? Lockheed Martin and Northrop Grumman to do the lion's share of the work. And the results were catastrophic. 4 years into the program, the Coast Guard had fewer operational boats and ships than it had when Deepwater was first launched. And what had originally been a $17 billion project became a $24 billion one, practically overnight with no end in sight. One former Lockheed Martin engineer found that corruption was so rife that his only resource was to do something I'd never seen before. He posted a whistleblower video on YouTube. A new strategy. Well, what are the consequences of this? What are the consequences of government's laissez-faire outsourcing? I think there are at least three we need to talk about here today. The first is what I would call an accountability and oversight problem of unprecedented proportions. As of March 31st, 2010, Congress had appropriated $53 billion for reconstruction in Iraq and $51 billion for reconstruction in Afghanistan. Since the government wanted results yesterday, oversight was often the first casualty, inviting waste and corruption. To cite just one example, the Pentagon has publicly acknowledged that $8.2 billion of taxpayer money flowed through contracts into Iraq, sometimes in stacks or pallets of cash, without appropriate record keeping or oversight. For example, $68.2 million went to the United Kingdom, $45.3 million to Poland, and $21.3 million to South Korea. Yet Pentagon auditors were unable to say why the payments had been made. The second consequence of government's laissez-faire outsourcing is what I would characterize as an overly ambitious international agenda. That is, in many ways, contractors, because you can simply throw money at problems, they facilitate overextension. I think we can see this with the two wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, where just imagine if we had to have a draft to fight those wars, which we would if we weren't able to rely on contractors. You would have a very different political situation in this country regarding decisions about the war going forward. But the third consequence, and which is perhaps the most troubling, is what I would call a lost sense of government purpose. That is, a lost sense of those things that only government can do well. And this has a highly demoralizing impact on everyone, especially those who work in government, who see most of the real work going out the door to contractors. Expediency, once this process is in motion, also makes it really easy to outsource things you shouldn't be outsourcing.